In Accra, I am Martin Asiedu-Dartey.
And I am Ayisha Yakubu. Let's bring you the headlines for this evening.
News360 Headlines is brought to you by
Flamingo Paint,
Pepsodent Charcoal and Pepsodent Herbal,
EcoBank.
It's official. Anti-LGBTQ bill to be reintroduced in 9th Parliament before passage. Speaker Alban Bagbin vows to get it passed and implemented.
Also coming up, Finance Minister Dr. Kesalato Forson issues another caution to businesses against pricing in dollars. Tonight, we find out if the directive can ever attain 100% compliance.
14 workers who sustained injuries after a private story building under construction collapsed on them at Roman Ridge receiving treatment.
And later in business, Bank of Ghana governor says Ghana has turned a decisive corner as Cedi records one of its strongest performances, trading at 12 cedis 10 pesos to the dollar.
U.S. forces have killed 14 people in strikes on 4 alleged drug boats in the Pacific.
We are live around the world on 3news.com. We are also streaming on Facebook and on YouTube, so your messages are always welcome.
Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin has assured that he will get the anti-LGBTQ bill reintroduced, properly passed and signed into law for implementation. He told lawmakers on Tuesday that the old bill passed by the 8th Parliament expired and cannot be regarded as passed for assent by the current president.
The first day Parliament resumed, the new anti-LGBTQ bill was advertised to be late, but it was missing from the order paper in the subsequent days. This caused the minority to accuse government of attempt to avoid passing it, all in the absence of the Speaker. The majority leader says he had wanted the old bill to be regarded as passed. Regardless, his part is ready for a new one.
I thought the fastest way is to treat the bill as having been passed. But if you want us to start all over again, I want to assure you that this side of our house is ready to start all over again. Officials appointed by the NPP, sitting at the presidency, wrote a letter threatening this parliament not to bring the bill there. And today, you are sitting here and pretending and behaving.
The minority leader had his bite.
We wait patiently for that day. But, Mr. Speaker, our friends must know that sometimes when they place a rat poison on another man's tongue, it will not take too long for they themselves to taste that rat poison. We are patiently waiting for this LGBT bill.
Speaker Bagbin ruled and explained the procedure in getting the new bill introduced and passed.
The 8th Parliament is history. So are all the businesses that were pending in the 8th Parliament. And so we have a new Parliament, the 9th Parliament. And therefore what was pending there came to an end and had to be reintroduced. Hold your peace, it will come sooner than later. Civil society is getting restless again, but I want to assure them that they know my passion in this matter, and I want to get it properly passed so that implementation becomes easier. There are a few things that our attention has been drawn to, which we'll work on together here, so that when we pass the bill, it's a bill that is accepted by all.
Other members from both sides of the House contributed to the debate.
I take solace in the assurance of the majority leader that we stand in readiness to support the process of enacting a law that will make the practice intolerable and unacceptable in this House. If they have changed their position, I would have wished that they would do so with their former president. But even if they are unable to, we welcome them on board. because this is a cause for Ghana.
What the Ghanaian people want is to have a law which promotes good sexual conduct in Ghana and which prevents LGBTQ. Don't go and change the 8th Parliament bill. Don't go and water it down. Don't go and revise it and bring it to the 9th Parliament and have the President assent to it, assent to a bill which is not fit for purpose. We want the 8th Parliament bill for the 9th Parliament to consider. Verbatim, don't change it.
The reintroduced anti-LGBTQ bill has a bipartisan support, one that has been commended. With the pathway to passing it now clear, many await its eventual laying before the House. Christian Yale, TV3 News, Parliament.
Meanwhile, the National Coalition for Proper Human Sexual Rights and Family Values is raising fresh concerns over delays in passing the anti-LGBTQ bill. Secretary General Moses Foamweni is urging Parliament to treat the bill as a public bill, not as a private member's bill.
Wish that the President's desire that the Attorney General brings the bill, that for me will be better. Because the technical problems with the private member's bill, that it should not impose a charge on the consolidated fund, will still be subsisting with this private member's bill. And mind you, the case that Richard Sky took to court was never determined on his merits. It was thrown out on a preliminary objection that there was not an enactment before the Supreme Court. But the merits, some of which he raised as to these technicalities and raised that, investigation, trial, imprisonment, all of that would impose a cost onto the state. If you brought the same private member's bill, it will suffer from the same defect. So in my own considered legal opinion, it would be good if the President's desire that we have a public bill brought by the Attorney General is fulfilled, and which would be good, because you see, as I indicated, Article 1 says sovereignty resides in the people of Ghana, and all the powers of government are supposed to be exercised for and on their behalf and for their well-being. Ghanaians voted for the President on the basis this issue was very critical. So it means that what Ghanaians want, bring the bill for and on behalf of all Ghanaians, and that should be a public bill, not a private member's bill. So whilst the Speaker says it wants to be introduced as a private member's bill, I have spoken to the Attorney General. He says he wants a discussion with the private members so that they will withdraw their bill, then he can bring it as a public bill. I prefer that. Otherwise, the technical issues can be raised in court. The bill will be passed and they will go to court, and then we're going to have the delay. There's no point.
Still staying in Parliament, the minority in the House has criticized the Attorney General for engaging in what it describes as biased press trials and populism by prosecuting suspects in the public without recourse to the Constitution. Legal counsel to the minority and MP for Swami, John Darko, says the AG, Dr. Dominic Ayine, is repeatedly violating constitutional provisions through his pronouncement of suspects as guilty even before they submit their defense in court.
The AG says he is into this media circus because he doesn't want to be referred to as an incompetent Attorney General because he wasn't an incompetent lawyer. Please, Mr. Attorney General, competent AGs don't prosecute their cases in the court of public opinion. Competent AGs prosecute their cases in the court where evidence are subject to street proof. In criminal trials, he has a responsibility to prove his case beyond reasonable doubt. This is where you go. Put the evidence before the court. Let the lawyers of the other parties scrutinize the evidence. If it stands the test of time and the court pronounces them guilty, so be it. Why do we bring the evidence to the media for just this media circus to destroy the image of people even before they get a chance to open their defenses? As a people, we must rise up against this challenge. In the case of the Buffer Stock CEO, the Attorney General referred to his investigation in a very sensational manner, calling it Rumble in the Jungle, certainly to create the impression of the guilt of the accused person in the case. Why does he call them lawless looters? Why does he call them, quote, criminal enterprise, people engaging in criminal enterprise, unquote? If I may ask, ladies and gentlemen of the media, how many of you, and I need a very fair answer from you, how many of you don't think that Hanan Abdul Wahab and his wife, Fazia Said are guilty of all the charges against them, even before they open their defense in the court? How many of you don't think that they are guilty? How many of you, maybe after that you can give me the answers. How many of you don't think that Wuntumi is guilty of all the charges against him?
In more news this evening, the Finance Minister, Dr. Cassel Ato-Forson, has cautioned businesses and the public against trading or pricing goods and services in foreign currencies, particularly the US dollar. Speaking at the official launch of the Cedi at 60 celebration, Dr. Forson noted the proactive contributions. He indicated that the practice of pricing goods and services in dollars contributes to the country's economic challenges, hence must be stopped immediately.
In Ghana, it's become increasingly common to see prices quoted in US dollars, from real estate and car sales to hotel bookings and even some luxury goods. For many, it's seen as a way to guard against the cedi's fluctuations, but the practice has quietly taken root across key sectors of the economy, raising concerns about its impact on confidence in the local currency. Finance Minister Dr. Ato-Forson is calling for an end to the practice and rally behind the cedi.
We must be eschewing the act that seeks to undermine the value of the currency, particularly the pricing of goods and services in foreign currency, the US dollar. As Ghanaians, the Ghana cedi remains the only legal tender. The US dollar is not our currency. The continuous pricing of goods and services in US dollars will only hurt us. Let's stop it, and let us stop it now.
Speaking at the official launch of the Cedi at 60 celebration, Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Johnson Esiama, acknowledged the success of the cedi and warned against complacency.
Ghana has turned a decisive corner. And indeed, the evidence is compelling. Headline inflation is now at 9.4%, and we expect it to end the year even far lower. The cedi has appreciated by 37% as at October 17th. And according to the World Bank, it is the best performing currency in sub-Saharan Africa. We are not yet where we want to be, Excellencies, but we are no longer where we were.
For her part, Vice President Professor Jainan Opokwajima noted that the cedi's steady recovery is restoring confidence in the market, stressing the need to safeguard these gains through fiscal discipline and responsible governance.
The cedi has not only recovered, it has soared. The trust in the cedi will not sustain itself. Government must lead by example and commit to real fiscal discipline. No more reckless borrowing. We must anchor public finances in realistic revenue plans, efficient spending, and long-term planning. Today, too many goods and services are still quoted in foreign currencies. But if you earn in cedis, you must be able to transact in cedis.
Right, so congratulations to all of us that our currency is 60 years old and still growing strong. In fact, the last few months, it has had the most strength in a long time. Let's find out what this means and then the caution that the Finance Minister is giving. Professor Godfred Bokping is the Professor of Finance, has joined us on phone for a quick chat. Prof, thank you for your time. Good evening.
Yes, good evening, and good evening to our cherished listeners and viewers.
Right, the caution the Finance Minister gave that we should stop, we as in the country and businesses therein, should stop pricing and doing business and quoting costs in dollars. This is not the first or second or third time. What exactly is the challenge that is preventing people from heeding to this advice?
Well, thank you very much. Typically,
you have just...
Right, so it looks like we seem to be having a slight challenge with this connection to Professor Godfred Bokping. But again, you are also a user of the currency. What do you make of this caution, and especially the big projects that are priced in the foreign currencies in the country. The caution is we shouldn't do that. Why are you still doing, or do you know someone that does? What kind of reasoning or explanation have they given for consistently pricing in foreign currencies? So do send us those messages in the comment section. We'll be happy to share it with the rest of the world. Plus, we'll try and see if we can get a proper connection to Professor Bopping. I'm told that we do have him. Prof, you were answering the question as regards the challenge in ensuring that we use our local currency.
Yes. So I was saying that, the money, the Cedi of currency performs 4 basic functions: a medium of exchange, a store of value, a unit of account, and a standard of deferred payment. So the question is whether over the decades that the Cedi has been in operation, whether it has performed these functions effectively and to the satisfaction of stakeholders, especially businesses. And then again, given our economic orientation that is more import-driven, both in terms of raw materials, intermediates, and then finished products. So when it comes to a medium of exchange, to a large extent, the Cedi is performing that role. But then when it comes to a store of value, there are challenges about the Cedi and its stability, not just in terms of short-term ups and downs, but in terms of long-term, as a store of value, it has been problematic. But I think I agree that as a country, the legal tender is the Cedi, and we must price goods and services in the local currency. But sometimes enforcing this in an environment where we are used to fiscal indiscipline, we are used to accommodating monetary policy, which distorts the outlook and causes depreciation, which erodes the value of the currency and ceases to be a store of value. It's always going to be challenging trying to say that we have to price in the local currency, because ordinarily businesses wouldn't want to price in a foreign currency by doing it. But because of the volatility, the exposure, the uncertainty of whether the Cedi will be able to hold its own against the major trading currencies, especially when we have not transformed this economy structurally, and then in terms of productivity transformation, it's always going to be a challenge. Sometimes it looks as though one is trying to legislate love when we talk about pricing in the local currency, because the economic fundamentals and the risk management in the system does not inure to the benefit of businesses, and therefore pricing in the foreign currency looks like a risk management strategy that businesses have adopted rather than just saying they don't want to price in the local currency. So I think the way we should look at it is more in terms of anchoring the stability of the Cedi within broader economic reform and economic transformation. That way, with time, there will be greater confidence in the Cedi. I can assure you that if you look at the way the central bank especially will manage the currency this year, there are reasonable suspicions about whether this is sustainable, whether in the medium to the long term we'll be able to sustain this. And if you want to know whether we'll be able to sustain this, you also want to see the kind of regulatory interventions within 9 months alone that Bank of Ghana has introduced. All of this just to keep the Cedi strong and all of that. And that already tells you that there is some level of anxiety, both from the central bank's point of view and then various stakeholders in the economy. But of course, we have seen that, and this is not the first time. Bear in mind that under the Fourth Republic, anytime there's a regime change, there is incentive to do the right thing. Sometimes within the first 1.5 years, within the first 2 years, and as the next election approaches, or the 8-year tenure approaches, the question is whether we're able to sustain the fiscal discipline as we have seen from the Ministry of Finance especially. And then also bear in mind, when politicians after the first year, second year begins to behave like the way we know them to be, in the corruption and all of that, that is where fuels all of these
challenges, right. Professor Bopping, thank you so much, and we are grateful that you could make time to speak to us this evening. He is a professor of finance, Professor Godfred Bopping.
Away from the issue of finance, 14 workers who sustained injuries after a private story building under construction collapsed on them at Roman Ridge are receiving treatment at the 37 military and Greater Accra Regional Hospitals. Stanley Niblo reports that no fatalities were recorded during the Tuesday afternoon incident.
Reports indicate that the structure caved in around 1 p.m. on Tuesday, while workers were actively casting concrete for the first floor of the building. 14 workers were trapped under the debris, sustaining various degrees of injury. A swift response and deployment of rescue personnel from the Ghana National Fire Service led to the successful rescue of all trapped victims. All 14 workers, some in critical condition, were rushed to the 37 military and Ridge Regional Hospitals for medical attention. An eyewitness who saw the collapse spoke to TV3. We heard a loud brief sound from the victims trapped beneath the rubble, calling for help. But before we could react, another section of the building collapsed. The structure is located on a plot between an uncompleted 10-story building and the Ghana Institution of Engineers at Roman Ridge. Although the immediate cause of the collapse is yet to be determined, the Ghana National Fire Service says investigations are underway.
Currently, we've not received any information as to whether any of the injured have lost their life. We are praying that nobody loses the life, just that some of them are in critical condition. So we are hoping that they receive the best of medical care and then they bounce back.
Meanwhile, construction firm Fabrico Builders has suspended all activities at the site. DO2 Desmond Aka provided further explanation.
Apparently, according to some of the workers and then eyewitnesses, whilst construction was ongoing, all they realized was that a section caved in. It was a new structure they were trying to use some reinforcement. That part or that portion caved in, and it affected about 14 workers who were working on that particular stretch. But the good news is that none of the injured 14 has suffered any fatality. So that is what I can report on now.
The defective project, according to officials, is a residential apartment complex. Stanley Niblo, TV3 News, Accra.
And the Ghana Standards Authority has closed down 5 manufacturing companies over use of unapproved materials in manufacturing. The companies which were operating at Afienya and Awenya were producing substandard products like mattress in large quantities.
The Ghana Standards Authority closed in on the companies after several failed attempts to have the companies stop manufacturing with the unapproved raw materials. Chinese firm FA Home, for instance, used substandard materials to start their mass-produced mattresses. One of the managers, who is a Chinese, was arrested for attacking an enforcement officer of the authority.
This very facility has been temporarily closed down by the Ghana Standards Authority. Until they put things in right order, activities would never take place here.
Residents tell me they fear for their respiratory health as a result of the toxic atmosphere. The enforcement exercise was also carried at Awenya, where 4 other companies were closed. They include Wanshen Garment Ghana Limited, Asano Electronics, Jin Yuanjia, and Bright Homes. The authority insists it will ensure companies meet standards and not shortchange consumers.
These factories are using materials which are alien to us, which are not standardized. Many of them are operating without licenses, and we are unable to tell the quality of the products that they are producing. So we can't tell as an independent body that is tasked to protect consumers whether these products that they are putting out there in the thousands and all of that are safe to use, which is the most important thing, but also fit for purpose.
The exercise is expected to be replicated in other areas where recalcitrant companies operate.
Let's turn our attention to politics. The former national chairman of the New Patriotic Party, Paul Wuntumi Afoko, has formally announced his intention to contest the national chairmanship position of the party's upcoming election of national officers. The announcement made in a press release marks Paul Afoko's return to political frontline after years, or almost a decade, of remaining largely under the radar following a highly controversial suspension. Paul Afoko was initially elected NPP national chairman in April 2014, but his tenure was abruptly cut short. In October 2015, the NPP's National Executive Committee indefinitely suspended him over accusations of a unilateral leadership style, subsequently appointing Freddie Blay, the then first vice chairman, as the acting chairman. Paul Afoko contested the move as unconstitutional, but the High Court dismissed his case in mid-2016 after the then party had won power and were in government. So, in his latest statement, Mr. Afoko asserted that the decision to run was not taken lightly, but came after careful consideration and in response to the consistent calls for renewed leadership within the rank and file of the NPP. So that's his reason for standing again or wanting to lead the party as chairman.
Also, drama unfolded on Tuesday, October 28, during the hearing of the criminal trial of NPP Ashanti Regional Chairman Bernard Asiedu-Dartey, popularly known as Chairman Wuntumi. The High Court, presided over by Justice Audrey Kokuvite, initially issued a bench warrant for the arrest of Chairman Wuntumi after noting that he had failed to show up in court for the trial without providing a reason. Lord Edwasare reports.
When the case was called, the prosecution led by Chief State Attorney Stella Oheneapia explained to the court that they were unable to file their disclosures because a witness had traveled outside the jurisdiction without signing his witness statement. After being rebuked by the judge, the prosecution indicated that the documents would be filed by the close of the day. Reacting to the absence of the NPP Ashanti Regional Chairman and his lawyer, Justice Kokuvite issued a bench warrant for his arrest. However, shortly after adjourning proceedings, Chairman Wuntumi entered the courtroom in the company of his lawyers led by Andy Apiakubi. After being briefed on the development, the lawyer filed an application to be heard by the court. Explaining the absence from the proceedings early on, Andy Apiakubi intimated that he was to blame and apologized to the judge. The court then rescinded the bench warrant, but not without a strong warning to the accused. The case has since been adjourned to November 4 for a case management conference. Lawyer for Wuntumi, Andy Apiakubi, spoke to the media.
Let us not continue to be divided. It's only part of the process of the court that space it is not present, but the matter is called one of the issues that will arise whether or not the accused person deliberately refused to present himself. And fortunately, we were able to prove to the judge that he is taken at the first temptations. It's not the case the accused person refusing to appear before the court.
The NPP Ashanti Regional Chairman has pleaded not guilty to charges of assignment of mineral rights without approval and purposely facilitating an unlicensed mining operation. Chairman Wuntumi is currently on a 15 million Ghana cedi bail with 3 sureties, 2 to be justified. Lord Edwasare, TV3 News, Accra.
Stakeholders in Ghana's sanitation sector are calling for urgent reforms and stronger collaboration to tackle the country's growing waste management crisis. This came to light at a national dialogue organized by Media General in Accra, bringing together policymakers, private sector players and environmental advocates to chart a sustainable path forward.
From heaps of plastic waste to overflowing landfills, there appears to be no end in sight to Ghana's sanitation challenge. At the Waste Management Dialogue organized by Media General, stakeholders shared ideas on how to turn waste into opportunity.
Really what is important is that we strengthen the PPP approach and emphasize the private sector very well. And the way to do it is to really consider what the private sector will be interested in as a basis for their partnership. One is cheap and patient capital. And number 2, you have to de-risk the investment through maybe bulk infrastructure and laying down minimum infrastructure that needs to be there.
For many in the private sector, innovation and financing remain key to transforming Ghana's waste into wealth.
Is a trillion cedi missed opportunity.
that we shouldn't be talking about waste management. We should be talking about a waste value chain. We should be talking about all the different opportunities to make money for the private sector, for the informal sector, and most important, the opportunities to create jobs.
Plastic in itself is not waste. Everything is recyclable. Life itself is recyclable. The oxygen we are breathing comes out as carbon dioxide, supposed to be waste. It gets recycled and we breathe in again. So if all of us will play our role in sustaining our environment, then we are good to go.
We propose, and we're in advanced discussions with the government at the moment, to allow us to build a plant that will use majority of the domestic and commercial waste in a PPP solution, private-public partnership, where the funding is coming from external sources, or FDI, foreign direct investment. The government really doesn't have to invest too much. They just have to have skin in the game by supporting with the FEED study, providing us with an uptake agreement.
The dialogue is part of Media General's commitment to driving national conversations that promote environmental responsibility and sustainable development.
As a media group, we see ourselves not just as storytellers, but as catalysts for national transformation. Through platforms like this, we aim to amplify solutions, influence mindsets, and inspire both citizens and institutions to see that sustainability is not a cost, it's an investment in resilience and growth.
More news this evening. The National Service Authority has released the first batch of postings for the 2025-2026 service year, deploying 85,159 graduates to public and private institutions. Now, the authority says this number excludes teachers, nurses, midwives, and personnel with data mismatches whose placements will be released later. Posted personnel are required to check their placements online, print and endorse their appointment letters, book online registration, and report for regional validation between October 29, which is tomorrow, and November 21 with their Ghana card. The authority is cautioning graduates not to pay middlemen for changes in postings and says that the service year officially begins on Monday, November 3, 2025. This is News 360. We have some business news coming up next. Stay with us.
I love President Charcoal. Why? When there are so many other charcoal toothpaste. That's both charcoal and lemon. Oh, does it? Yeah, look right here. Yes, Pepsodent Charcoal has two of nature's powerful
Hello there, good evening and welcome to the business segment here on News 360. I am Michael Obodu. Now, the Ghana Cedi has recorded one of its strongest performances in recent months, appreciating sharply against major trading currencies amid improved market sentiments and steady central bank interventions. The development comes as Bank of Ghana Governor Dr. Johnson Isiama says Ghana has turned a decisive economic corner, citing renewed confidence in the local currency as the country marks 60 years of the city's resilience.
Professor Nana Jenopokwajman described the Cedi as a symbol of Ghana's economic sovereignty and resilience. She emphasized that while the currency has shown strong recovery in recent weeks, sustaining that progress will depend on prudent spending, disciplined fiscal management, and deeper collaboration across the financial sector.
We have learned painful lessons from fiscal indiscipline, over-borrowing, and ignoring tried principles. But today, the Cedi has not only recovered, it has soared. We must now protect what we have rebuilt through action from government, institutions, and citizens.
Dr. Johnson Isiama highlighted the Cedi's recent gains as evidence of a turning point in Ghana's economic recovery.
The Cedi has appreciated by 37% as at October 17. And according to the World Bank, it is the best performing currency in sub-Saharan Africa for the first 8 months of 2025.
Finance Minister Dr. Kasiel Atuforsen also urged businesses to stop pricing goods and services in US dollars, warning that the practice undermines national monetary stability and contravenes existing laws.
As managers of the economy, we have remained steadfast in our duty to ensure a strong Cedi and a very stable currency. Our commitment to fiscal discipline has contributed to the strengthening of the Ghana Cedi.
Now, the Food and Beverages Association of Ghana, FABAG, has issued an urgent public appeal to the government, warning that the escalating crisis of smuggling across Ghana's borders is causing the nation to lose billions of cedis in revenue each month. Executive Chairman of FABAG, Reverend John Awuni, drew attention to the alarming levels of illicit trade, which is flooding the market with untaxed and often substandard commodities like rice, cooking oil, sugar, alcoholic beverages, and textiles.
FABAG estimates that Ghana is losing hundreds of millions of cedis every week due to unmonitored smuggling activities at both official and unofficial entry points.
This is a very worrying phenomenon. This is very, very alarming. It's a crisis situation for legitimate businesses in this country. All manner of commodities are coming through the borders of Togo, particularly, be it rice, sugar, cooking oil, and other many products are coming through the country. And the government indeed is losing an average of about 300 million Ghana cedis per month through these activities.
FABAG called on the Ministry of Finance and all relevant authorities to take immediate and decisive action. Specifically, they appeal to the custom divisions of the Ghana Revenue Authority, the Ministry of Trade and Industry, and national security agencies to help.
And that'll be all for the business segment here on News 360. I am Michael Obodu. We'll bring you updates now from the currency and the commodities market.
Sports segment is brought to you by
Sasso insecticide spray and coil.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on News 360 with me, Oreku Ampofo. The Black Queens of Ghana have sealed qualification for the 2026 CAF Women's Africa Cup of Nations after completing a dominant 7-0 aggregate victory over Egypt. Ghana took control of the tie from the first leg, securing a convincing 3-0 win at the Suez Canal Stadium in Ismailia last week. Returning home with the advantage, the Queens were determined to finish the job in front of their fans at the Accra Sports Stadium. After a goalless first half, the Black Queens produced a ruthless second-half performance, scoring 4 goals to complete the demolition. Attacker Doris Bouedua stole the show with a sensational hat-trick, while defender Comfort Yeboah added a name to the score sheet to cap off an emphatic victory.
It's always difficult to say because I do think that maybe one of our better games that we have played were against Morocco in the semi-final. We had less preparation into that game. They were away game in the front of the big crowd, and we were the better team, and we deserved to play the final. And to do that against the home country, maybe the favorite to win, and that time even if Nigeria won it. That was a great performance, and then we had the third place when we were beating South Africa, and we did it really good as well. So I mean, it's maybe the opponent had a higher level in those kind of games. So I think that kind of performance is maybe in the end a little bit better. But I mean, I can't ask for more than we hit 7-0 against Egypt either. So just super happy with the result.
When I was walking through the tunnel to the pitch, and then I saw the fans, I was like, is this even real life? Because it was loud. There wasn't that many people, to be honest, because the stadium is huge. But the atmosphere was just outstanding. In the middle of the game, I know it should be focused, but sometimes I was just looking around, just enjoying. So this is just a dream. I was enjoying it.
And so that were the voices of Black Queens head coach Kim Lashiak again, and then also Josephine Bonsu, who spoke to the media after the game. However, there were other results from the African qualifiers where you can clearly see on your screen there. Ethiopia losing to Tanzania, Malawi beating Angola by 2-0, and then you also see Algeria beating Cameroon by 1-0. Nigeria being held at home, but still had enough in 2 legs to qualify. Ghana, as you already saw, beat Egypt by 4-0. Kenya beat Gambia by 1-0, and then there was Burkina Faso also beating Togo. Well, a reminder that the AFCON takes place in 2026 in Morocco, and the top 4 countries automatically qualify for the Women's World Cup to be held in Brazil much later. My name is Oreku Ampofo, and you can get some more updates on our social media handles at 3Sports, on 3 News/Sports.
segment is brought to you by GTP Lifestyled and Napa Foods. Heaven Black Insecticide Spray and Coil. Powered by 3 Entertainment.
Well, good evening and welcome to the entertainment news segment here on News 360. My name is Noella Donko. Now, award-winning Ghanaian filmmaker Shirley Frimpong Manso has shared her thoughts on the impact of social media, acknowledging that while it offers numerous benefits, it also comes with significant downsides. Now, the filmmaker, known for producing thought-provoking films that reflect social realities, encouraged especially the youth to use digital platforms responsibly to learn, connect, and build meaningful opportunities.
I think that social media has got its good and bad sides. I call it the good, bad, and the evil. So it really comes down to balance. I think in the age we're in now, in this world, everything is balancing. Because even when you get on social media, you're being told so many things that you shouldn't do. You shouldn't eat this, shouldn't eat that. We've been told that eggs are not good. Then they come back and say eggs are good. Drink water, don't drink water.
To the producer of Life and Living It, social media has become a powerful tool for communication, creativity, and business development. She acknowledges, however, that it can also expose users to misinformation, negativity, and unnecessary lifestyle and stress. The acclaimed filmmaker urged people to be mindful and selective about the content they engage with online, emphasizing the importance of maintaining a healthy balance in social media use.
I think that knowledge is key, that we all start learning on our own. We read, so we're not ignorant of the facts, and then we create a balance.
She added that she personally uses social media to promote her work and businesses, encouraging young people to responsibly harness digital platforms to create their own opportunities.
Social media could be very good. I mean, for somebody like me, I use it a lot for my business. A lot of other people, social media influencers, they're making money off it. But then also it can sip it into your life and completely take over. And before you know it, you're completely addicted and you're living a life that is completely out of control. So it really is about balance.
Now to some more stories. Celebrated Ghanaian rapper Chami Kwame has weighed in on the ongoing debate about grooming rules in schools, stressing that the best form of education will not require you to cut off your hair. Now, his comment follows recent remarks by the Education Minister, Haruna Idrisu, who stated that schools under the Ghana Education Service will not tolerate long hair among students, emphasizing the need for discipline and uniformity in appearance. And that's it for the entertainment news segment here on News 360. My name is Noella Donko.
Let's now bring you some international news.
U.S. forces have killed 14 people in strikes on 4 alleged drug boats in the Pacific. According to reports, one survivor was rescued by Mexican search and rescue personnel. It is the latest in a series of attacks on boats the U.S. says have been carrying drugs in both the Pacific and Caribbean. The latest strikes in the Eastern Pacific, which happened on Monday at the direction of President Donald Trump, mark an escalation in what it says is a campaign to target drug traffickers. The strikes have drawn condemnation in the region, and experts have questioned their legality. Members of the U.S. Congress, both Democrats and Republicans, have also raised concerns and questioned the president's authority to order them. At least 57 people have now been killed, and the strikes, which has led to increasing tensions between the U.S. and the governments of both Colombia and Venezuela.
It's been a pleasure coming your way this evening. Thank you so much for watching. I am Martin Asiedu-Dartey.
And I am Ayisha Yakubu. Have a good evening.